Hall of the Dead is a map that I was not super familiar with before filming this video, to be honest with you. I've only played it a handful of times, but you know what? I think I've kind of been skipping out, because as I'll talk about in this video, it is definitely a solid map. It's not one that I ever fully dismissed because I thought it was bad. I don't know, it didn't really draw me in. Probably didn't help that whenever I played with anybody, the first thing they did was shoot George when he got out of the water, which I did do this match, by the way. I didn't shoot him the second he got out of the water, but I'll show at the end of the video if I'm done critiquing that I did kill him. I don't have the footage of me doing it, but I do have the achievement that pops up. But regardless, we're going to do this like we normally do. We'll give some pros, we'll give some cons, and then overall verdict of the map, and a rating. So without further ado, let's boogie. I think that some of the cons of this map are, it's beautifully laid out. I think that it is a solid layout, and it's a little confusing at first, but it really does kind of feel like its own thing. And like, if you know, that's something I really appreciate for zombie maps. It has solid pacing. A lot of the areas are kind of windy like this, in the sense that, like, they're small but easy to train on, kind of, which I'll touch on more later when I get to the cons. And I mean, weapon layout in terms of wall weapons is pretty fair. It's got some decent ones. I mean, all the ones you'd expect from Black Ops 1, you know, the Olympia, the M14, the MP5, not the MP5. I can't think of the name of it, but that one, and the MPL, the AK-47, and yeah, the perk placement it's not bad. They are pretty spread out, about as spread out as they could be, and a little hard to remember at times exactly what perks are where. I did have to look it up a couple times, but again, this is like maybe my first time ever actually seriously attempting this map. I was not going for the Easter egg, I was just going for a high round. But I did have fun. I enjoyed it a lot. What are some other pros? Well, okay, I think one pro that's as much as it is a con, which I will talk about to lead into the cons, is that the water is just as helpful as it is hurtful. In the sense that it's helpful because it can slow down zombies, and if you accidentally shoot George and he runs in the water, it slows him down as well. But it also slows you down. And if I remember correctly, if you're in there too long, you freeze and you have to knife yourself out of it, which I thought was going to happen a couple times, but it did not. And another pro, which won't sound as much like a pro as I think it is that this map is difficult. Like, because the corridors and like all the hallways, well, it's the same thing, but like all the areas, as you're seeing right here, are super narrow. Like, there's not really any open spots in the map. There's like two, being the starting room and then where you can buy the AK-74. Yeah, it makes it kind of tough, especially when you're trying to get from one end to the other. Like, I used all 3 quick revives this game, and trying to get from one perk to the next because of that, it can be a little tough, but it does add a bit of challenge factor, which I do kind of enjoy. But it is a very, like, tight-walled map. Another con is George, not George himself, but he can make training very difficult, especially if you accidentally shoot him. There's usually water nearby. This clip right here, actually, I wanted to include because while I was down on that, I almost just gave up. I was like, you know what, I've got enough footage for the episode, but I clearly didn't because I'm still talking. Yeah, like, you can see that too. I think it gives, when the zombies are in the water, I think it gives them less health. But again, it slows you down drastically, making you easier to go down. But I did not go down in the water, I can say that for a fact. Another con, I guess not really a con. This map doesn't have as many as I expected. I really didn't like this map a ton, but then again, I've only ever played it with people who immediately try to, you know, make George mad. But yeah, and George himself, let me just say, and then I have something else I want to say about the map, or a couple things, I guess. It's been a while. But George himself is really not that bad. It was about round 18 when I decided I was finally going to try to, like, fight him. I had a pack punch from Moss, and I was getting death machine drops, like, once a round. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. And I did, and I will say, honestly, a lot easier than I expected. It did not take nearly as long, because, like, when you hear people talk about this map, they talk about how beefy he is. Really wasn't. I still had ammo in my stock for the FAMAS by the time he was done. And I think I only got the death machine once throughout it, and I was barely able to hit him with it. But I did get him. And if you do, you get a double points, a death machine, and a free perk. And I played for 2 more rounds after. I did that, and I did not see him again, so I don't think he spawns back. I think once you take care of him, he's just kind of gone. I could be wrong. Maybe he does come back, but I didn't really play long enough to see that. But yeah, he really was not as difficult as I expected. I thought he was going to get me, though, because he did get me in a corner, and neither of us were able to move. So, well, he was still swinging at me and hitting me, but, like, I couldn't move, like, at all. So yeah, and the Pack-a-Punch 2 is, like, there's like 4 locations for it throughout the map, and you have to watch the lighthouse at the top, because it'll shine on. Like, there's one right there, there's one over there by the start. And you just kind of have to keep an eye out for the lighthouse and where it's looking at in order to go Pack-a-Punch. Oh yeah, and another really significant thing about this map that I didn't really even think about until I was recording these clips for it, was that it set the significance of celebrity casts. And that opened the door, I feel, for, like, Mob of the Dead and Shadows of Evil, where we were able to see people like Ray Liotta and Ron Perlman. Okay, so that right there... Hold on. I totally forgot how those things worked. It's been a while since I've played DLC maps on Black Ops 1, and I totally forgot what those did. In my head, I thought it worked like a monkey bomb, but I was very wrong, and it almost cost me the game. But yeah, anyway. It set the road for celebrity casts, like, and those are some of my favorite maps. If you've been with the channel for a while, you'll know that Mob of the Dead is my absolute favorite map. Nothing has topped it yet, and I don't know if anything will. That could just be because I'm stubborn, but I love that map. It's the first round I broke 50, or first map I broke 50 on in terms of rounds. My highest on that ever was like 90 something. And it just, I don't know, it'll always be my favorite. And then Shadows of Evil is a solid cast. Jeff Goldblum being one of my favorite actors out there, like, he being in that map. And then Hellboy himself, Ron Perlman, like, just super stellar casting. And you gotta think it was because of this map. Because this was the first one to have a celebrity cast, being Danny Trejo, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Robert Englund, who is Freddy Krueger, and Michael Rooker, who plays Merle in The Walking Dead. And, you know, Danny Trejo's Machete, and Sarah Michelle Gellar is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And, of course, you know, George Romero himself, you know, the king of horror, is the boss in this map. And I think now it's even more bittersweet. I know it's been a couple years since that happened, but I think it's even more bittersweet now, since he's passed away, that he was able to be a part of something like this. Although he obviously did bigger things, like he created films, and, you know, well, masterpieces. But, like, it, you know, I feel like something like this is sweet. And it's nice to see. But yeah, this was right after I did it. That's what that trophy in the corner was for, you know, taking him off the map. And yeah, you just get an extra perk, double points, death machine, and then you just kind of play. But yeah, overall, you know, I don't think it's as bad a map as I always thought it was. After coming back and giving it that real chance to try and get clips for the video, I did find myself enjoying it quite a bit. There wasn't a point in time where I was like, ugh, I can't wait to be done with this video. I really enjoyed it, and you know what? I think I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. I think it's super solid. And you know what? It's got the option of George. You don't have to do that, but it can make training like this really easy. And you know what? If you haven't played this map, or you haven't played it in a long time and you haven't, I'd say jump back in. Give it another whirl. I enjoyed it, and I'll probably end up playing it more often. And I can now see why everybody wants it on the infamous Zombies Chronicles 2. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed. Hope you're having a good day. If you're watching early on, have a good rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, keep surviving, you know. And, see ya.